Good morning. Thank you for coming. Welcome to The Morning Touch. I'm Darwin Campbell. As always, The Morning Touch is brought to you by the Chaplaincy for the Homeless and the FSBC in Glendale. We are so glad that you attend with us in this study each and every time we gather together. We've been talking about faith, and last time we talked about the substance of faith. The fact that even though we cannot see God physically, or we cannot see heaven physically, we know that God is present and we know him as creator because it was spoken in Psalms 19 that the heavens declare his handiwork. And it was spoken by Paul in the book of Acts chapter 17, that in him we live and we move and we have our very being. We can know God, and from knowing God by and through his creation, we can see him and know that he is in charge of the destiny of this world. My friends, we go further into the book of Hebrews and we start examining faith. Each and every one of us, when we know who God is, that is the start of faith. Where faith grows is when we examine the examples of those ancients before us who took the same idea and who witnessed the same type of acceptance, and who, in examining who God is, they were able to come to conclusions about God and measure and develop a lifestyle surrounding that faith. We start with a man by the name of Abel. From the very beginning, he was part of the creation. Adam and Eve had sons, Cain and Abel, in the book of Genesis. Well, we know the story that Abel and Cain presented a sacrifice to the Lord. Abel's sacrifice was more acceptable to God than Cain's, and that caused Cain to get upset. He became so upset and angry that Cain killed Abel, committing the first murder in history. The Bible said in Hebrews 11 and verse 4, by faith Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain did. By faith he was commended as a righteous man when God spoke well of his offerings. And by faith he still speaks even though he is dead. What can be said about Abel? What can we say? How does he speak to our life? How does he demonstrate faith? How does he show us that faith is important? After all, his brother killed him. He killed him because Abel had a sacrifice that was more pleasing and acceptable to God. That goes down to the heart. That goes down to the motive. Faith, when we offer ourselves to God, faith is a driving force that helps us get closer to God. What does Abel teach us? His example teaches us to always give the best offering to God. We don't give it grudgingly. We don't give what we give to God out of necessity. We give to God because we know who God is. We know how good he is. We know how gracious he is. We understand how merciful he is. And we step up to give him our best. We step up to give him our first fruits of what he has blessed us with. That's faith. Abel was one who did that. Unfortunately, his faith in God resulted in family strife. His faith in God resulted in costing him his life. But today in 2021, his faith still speaks to us today. For over 6,000 years have passed since that fateful day when God accepted Abel's sacrifice and when Cain murdered him in cold blood. But his life speaks. His action speaks. His faith speaks. And we can learn from that if we but remember how Abel trusted in God. How Abel did what he did, not out of himself, not out of selfishness, not out of pride, but because he wanted to give God his best. His faith points to the importance of having faith in God. You know, even in death, as horribly as he died, even in death, his life speaks to us today. Even in death, it is Abel who teaches us centuries upon centuries later, shows us that we can find God's favor when we trust him 100%. Irrespective of what happened to him, he was willing to give God everything that he had, and the best of what he had, and the first fruits of what he had. We find favor with God when we put him first. And then number two, you want your life, I want my life to be a testimony like Abel. That no matter what happens to me, no matter who's jealous of me, no matter what the world does to me, no matter what the world says about me, I want to be known in the heavens as one who put God first, as one who gave him the best of the best, as one who stepped up to give honor and glory, full honor and glory and respect to his name, Jehovah God, Yahweh God. What does Abel teach us? Abel teaches us the value of giving God the best. And my friends, you can rest assured, by faith, if you give God the first, by faith, if you give God the best, by faith, if you step up with the faith of Abel, my friends, not only will God step up and give you his best, but your name will be etched like Abel's name, and your life and your legacy will speak forever and ever, from generation to generation. We know Abel 6,000 years later. We speak his name in 2021 because of his great example, and because of his faith, and because of his willingness to put God first and give God his best. My friends, let's all be able today. Be it able today. Because when you give God your best, he's going to give you his best. You know, the Morning Touch is brought to you by the Chaplaincy for the Homeless and the FSBC in Glendale. Today we've learned about Abel and how it's important to give our best. That sets your legacy, because when you give your best for God, the world knows who God is, and the world knows the power of faith. I hope, trust, and pray that your iron will sharpen iron, that your sword will be more sharp, and that you will step forward and let the world know that you have faith today. See you next time on The Morning Touch.